Welcome to the Reddit stories. r/Askreddit. What was your biggest teenage mistake? I was a rather negative person as a teenager, but tried to play it off as sarcasm instead. I somehow had grown into this weird bubble where I made fun of almost every little thing, but didn't really realize that I was also hurting my friends by doing that. I did lots of growing up after high school, and I'm a bit sad about not keeping in touch with my old friends. They might have liked me more today than they did back then. I did not rebel. My parents incessantly accused me of rebelling and general debauchery despite being in a huge club sport on scholarship, being involved in school councils, having extracurriculars like orchestra and art, which I always won awards for, having a 3.6 GPA, being the first in my family on track to go to a huge university, etc, etc, etc. I spent my high school life hopping in between crying, self-loathing, and suicidal ideation when I could have been having fun and enjoying my childhood. I spent too much time wondering why my parents didn't love me instead of doing something about it and refusing to respect them. Back when I was just a young hoodlum, I was out for a very late evening drive. Nice cool air and my car was making good power, which for a turbo 5.0 Mustang is quite a bit of power. I was cruising at 100 miles per hour plus with occasional jaunts to much higher speed. Came up to a town and saw a police roadblock. About the same time I saw lights about a mile behind me. I was pretty sure they couldn't have eyed me by that point, so I took off. Did a little fancy driving and gave them the slip for a while. Long story short, it came down to wrecking my car or giving up, and I decided to give up. Felony, fleeing the police in a motor vehicle, reckless endangerment and a couple other charges is what I ended up with. I was 19 at the time. Now I'm 33. I'm an engineer, married to a wonderful man who unfortunately I'm not able to have children with. We looked into adoption, but with one of us being a former felon it's a bit of a non-starter. Trying to be more mature. Since childhood, I prided myself on being an extremely smart person who was above things like cartoons and playing. Of course, I still like those things, but I desperately tried to hide it, even though literally nobody actually cared. While everyone my age was dashing to tab away from porn, I was tabbing away from Minecraft Let's Plays. Even though I'm older now and know that people don't care, I still find myself tabbing away from cartoons and pausing games when people try to see what I'm doing. That instinct is still there. I usually just force myself to resume what I was doing, but I feel like I'd be better off if I didn't have the desire to prove myself to others as a kid. High school football. My doctor advised me against it, but I was 14 and knew everything. Putting my body through 4 years of abuse was not worth what I got out of it. Today I'm 33 and wake up with a stiff neck every day. My right shoulder has a ton of scar tissue. My elbow has a bone chip. My jaw clicks/pops if I open it too wide, and both of my knees ache when it gets too cold. Also, our team sucked. My biggest teenage mistake was not being kind to myself. My teenage years were some of the hardest in my life, hopefully. Trauma after trauma, disappointment after disappointment, and I always blamed myself for them all. It wasn't until recently I could start looking back and realize that it really wasn't my fault. I did a lot more than most would have in my situation, and that even though I had terrible teenage years, it's not a reflection on who I am, but more a reflection on what I was going through. It makes coming to terms with losing out on that part of your life much easier, and I wish I had this mindset much earlier. I took teenage stereotypes too seriously. Like I thought the kind of dynamics you saw in teen moves were real. Jocks were all dumb assholes, nerdy kids were smart virgins, etc. It took me an embarrassing amount of time to realize that people are people and that I was severely limiting myself by assigning myself a role. Drugs, I wish I had never touched any of them. Cigs, roxes, weed, all of it. I have literally done almost every drug you can think of and been addicted to 4 different kinds of them. Drugs ruin lives. Doesn't matter how innocent they seem at first or how innocent they can be physically and mentally, they catch up to you, and the next thing you know it's been 7 years and you're still acting like a teenager. You wake up when you get some clean time and you look back at nothing but regret, destroyed relationships and your apathy for the people in your life, and you cry. I cried for months after. I wasted so much time and cared so little about everything except my next high. Don't do drugs, guys and gals. They're awfully insidious. One minute you think that it's just for fun, and the next you need them. Not always a physical need, an emotional and psychological need that invades every aspect of your life and prevents you from processing your life properly. It destroys your liberty. It does not give it to you. It's a prison of your own creation. Just never manning up and asking out a girl. I'd say I'm somewhat above average looking. In high school I was the funny guy who pretty much no one disliked. So turns out I had a decent amount of girls who had crushes on me. But I never saw myself as attractive due to a skin condition. So anytime a girl was dropping hints I just chalked it up to them being nice. Driving under the influence. When I got my first car, I used to drive when going out with friends under the guise of not drinking, but inevitably I would end up having a couple drinks and would drive home anyway. Never got drunk to the point of being a severe danger behind the wheel, but it was still stupid as hell. My 33 years old self shudders now at my own idiocy. I was chased a lot. When I was younger, I was chubby and socially awkward. When I became a teen, I grew a lot and lost a lot of weight. But the damage to my self-esteem had been done. One time, when I was in grade 11, I was sitting in the cafeteria. There were a group of girls sitting further down the table from me, looking at me and giggling to each other. One of them passed me a note that said, "I like you, my name," but they spelled my name wrong, a common mistake for my name. I tossed it back and coldly said, "You spelled my name wrong," got up and walked away. I felt like a dick afterwards. I thought they were teasing me, leading me into a trap where I'd hit on one of them and they'd all laugh at me at my expense. But one of them, maybe all of them, really did like me and they were all super cute. I crushed some girl hard. I was 16 and moved in with my 21-year-old boyfriend at the time. It took an abuse of 8 years and so many severed relationships to realize that in no way was that situation normal. If I didn't do that I would have completed my education and probably been much more successful in my life than I'm now. Getting fat. I entered high school weighing 160 pounds. Tried to start in football for 2 years where I gained muscle and fat and got up to 240 pounds. Ended up quitting football because I didn't get the starting position. I quit working out as well, but I kept eating like I was. Ballooned to 300 by the time I was 28 and finally had enough. It took 1 year, but I lost 130 pounds and have been maintaining now for 3 years. Jumping from relationship to relationship. Part of me wishes I could then explored who I was without someone attached to me. I was too emotionally immature to even handle serious relationships. Now I feel like I hurt some people and was hurt by some people. All of it unnecessarily. I did however end up meeting my wife and mother to my beautiful daughter. I don't regret that at all. However, it would have been nice to end up in the position I'm in without all the teenage stupid drama. Thinking everyone hated me all the time when I was just projecting my self-hatred onto them. Also I pushed myself so hard that I burned out in a permanent way. I wish I could go back and tell my younger self that she doesn't have to do everything/be everything/be perfect. I honestly can't believe I survived my teen years. Deciding I was going to major in fine arts. I kind of boxed myself in by not considering other options. I still don't understand how anyone can expect a teenager to know what they want to do after high school. By that point nobody's really had a chance to live or figure out who they are without their parents or without going to school. You have to be able to live a little before you really know what you want. If I could go back, I would have taken a gap year or 2 instead of jumping straight into college. Getting way too hung up on someone and being kinda creepy about it. It was a pretty nasty awakening once I realized, got it through my thick skull, that I was making them uncomfortable and that I needed to stop. Thankfully I had the good sense to just spend a year working on myself and figuring out how to not be a creep and how to be like emotionally healthy. Re-evaluating your preconceptions and biases is really awful work, but I will say it's well worth it. It made me much happier in the long run and got me past most of the worst of my dating troubles. Plus I might have dodged becoming like an incel or something. IDK if I ever would have gotten that bad. but in retrospect I think I might have once been vaguely on that path. I just wish I could undo being creepy towards my friend. That's harm I've done that I'm not really ever gonna get back or be able to fix. Having a phone wasted 10 years of my life, still going, and negatively impacted everything from my social skills to my overall intelligence. I'm 19 years old now, and I don't feel like I'm ready for real life. Having a job, having a girlfriend, buying a car, argumenting. It just seems too much for me because I'm so fucking smooth-brained. I'm still to this day wasting my life away on my phone while missing out on so many experiences. That time we outran the police and jumped the railroad crossing in the 1970 Boss 302 Mustang at 100 miles per hour. Damn, that destroyed the 2 1/4 inches headers, dented the crap out of the oil pan and pretty much destroyed the exhaust system. But a close second was the time we were drag racing a 1968 Corvette with a supercharger and attached the Boss 302 to 8,000 RPMs. The clutch exploded on the 2 to 3 shift and was like a grenade going off again, destroying a set of 2 1/4 inches headers and poking holes in the floor and roof from the shrapnel, slicing us up pretty good too. Haha. Fun times. Choosing biology over physics for crucial school exams despite me being far better at physics because I thought biology would be more important to my then goal of studying medicine at university. Turns out I was kinda wrong and my biology grade was by far my worst in the end despite me putting most of my energy into it. In the end I was effectively 1 mark short of the grades I needed, causing me to flame out spectacularly and go from being the straight A kid with all the extracurricular rewards to a depressed C/D student in just a couple of months. I'm just glad I didn't pass the point of no return, so to speak, and only now at 23 I'm starting to get the flame back, and I still have a chance to salvage my chemistry degree in my future career. I'm gonna voice type this, so forgive the errors. For context, in school I was super smart plus almost a jock. If you've seen 13 Reasons Why, I've done one of those reasons. In 8th grade, when I came out as gay, in Kansas, I was bullied so horribly that eventually I came out as gay. I abused my previous popularity status and said it was a prank to get this fat, more obviously gay guy to come out and rejoined the popular kids. Given the amount of hate that I received, I cannot imagine the hate that he received. I truly think I did one of the most horrible legal things you can do to someone. Think about it every day. Dating a 27-year-old when I was 13. I thought it was a flex he liked me and thought I was pretty, and all of my friends told me it was weird, but I wouldn't listen. He told me they were jealous and nobody saw what he saw in me, and he was the only one who would ever see potential in me. He quite honestly ruined my life and completely altered the course of it over a 2-year period. I still have nightmares from the things he made me do for him and to him, and think of him at least 3 times a day. Therapy hasn't helped. Talking about it hasn't helped. I've tried to unalive myself 9 times because of him during the relationship, and a few months ago even I can't get any of it out of my head, and I'll forever hate how dumb I was for not seeing the truth and not listening to literally everyone that was important to me. Thank you.